Hi, it's John Williams here at MIT, and I want to talk to you today about Git and its file structure. So on the left here we see a commit that points to some tree objects, and the tree objects are like directories that then point to the files, and in Git the files are called blobs. And we're going to look at where these things are stored. They're stored in the .git objects directory, and you'll see that the files are known by their hashes, which are these numbers here, the beginning of these numbers, the BC52A, etc. And so I want to show you how these things all fit together. So first, let's take a look at the files that we're going to use. We're going to have two files in our project. One is called something.txt and the other is called helloworld.txt. And here I'm showing them once we've sucked them into the .git format of a blob, and here I'm showing the beginnings of their hashes, and we'll see how to create these now. But these are stored, these blobs are stored under the .git objects directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to create these, and we're going to look at the objects subdirectory, and we're going to create a tree that points to these. So a tree is basically, you can think of it as like a directory. Okay, so we have a directory with two files in it in Git, and all of these, both the blobs and the tree, are known by their hash files. Okay, and we're going to see exactly how those are constructed. And if we look, for example, here I'm doing a git cat file on the tree, and you'll see that it contains information. It contains the name of the file, which is this long hash, but it also contains friendly file name, so helloworld.txt and something.txt. Okay, so let's take a look first then at the file system. So here, let me bring up my git bash. So this is my command window, and here you can see I've done an ls, and it shows that we've just got two files. Now the first thing we need to do to bring these under git control is that we need to initialize Git. So we do a git init. So you need to have installed Git on your machine, obviously. And here now it says we've got an empty Git directory. If I do ls-la, which shows all of the subdirectories, we see that there's a .git subdirectory, and if we look in the .git subdirectory, we'll see that there are several other subdirectories. One is called objects, and that's going to store the blobs and the tree. And we see there's a head, and this is a simple file that points to the top of our project, if you like. And we'll see when we create sub-branches, we can move the head to point to one branch or another branch. Okay, but the first thing is, let me show you how we can get these into the Git system. Let me just first show you what objects looks like. It's got something in it called info and pack. But what we're going to see is when we start putting our blobs in here, we'll see that other subdirectories are created. So first, for example, let's do hash object -w, and let's do the hello world file. So there it is. So what this does now is kind of sucks the hello world.txt file into the Git system, and it creates a hash, and notice it starts 98 and then 0A0. Now if we look at the .git objects, you'll see there's a subdirectory that starts 98. Subdirectory, it's called 98, and that's no accident. It corresponds to the first two characters of the hash. And the rest of the characters are, if we look at what's in 9.8, we'll see that there's a file, and the file name is the rest of the hash. So Git uses these hashes that seem a little unfriendly as file names. Okay, we know they're unique, and we can use that hash actually to test whether the file has been touched or not, whether it's been changed or not. So let's do our next one, and we're going to use, that was a low-level command I used where I used the hash object. Let's use the more normal where we say git add, and I'll put in something.text, and I'll do a git add as well for hello world because we're going to use both of those. And now if I go back and look at this, you'll see there's the first one that we did, the hello world, and now this is going to be the something.text. Okay, so now they are blobs and they're in these subdirectories under objects. Okay, so now we do a git write tree, and you'll see that it creates an object starting 8.7. If we look at our subdirectory, now we'll see that under objects there's a subdirectory starting 8.7, and that's a tree object. So we've got two blobs and this tree object, and inside this tree object, as we saw, now we've got these three objects here, and this structure, we see that it's got the friendly name, even though the files within Git are known by these complex hashes, if you like. We do have access to the friendly names as well. Okay, so I showed you how to create a blob, and now what we notice is that this structure is actually what's called a Merkle tree, and the DAG means directed access graph, and Git uses these Merkle trees to keep track of the file system. And we do one more thing, we do a commit, and we then create a branch, and that means that we have a master pointing to this first commit. Okay, so we can go back and do that commit. And I need to escape I and put in first commit, and then I need to escape colon write and quit. Okay, and now let's have a look. We've got, it says there's two files that changed. So this is our first commit, and so we've inserted these two files, and hello world and something .text have been put in there. Let's go and look at the tree structure under objects, and so you notice now we've got a fourth. So the commit itself has a hash name, and I believe it's D6 is going to be that one. Okay, so if we do a git log now, we see that we've got our first commit, yeah, and the commit itself starts D6. So we can look inside of Git and keep track of exactly what's going on. Now let's do what normally we do. Let's edit one of the files. Let's suppose we edit something.text. Now as soon as we change the contents, the hash will change. So here we've got the same file name, but the contents have changed, so the hash changes. Now let's suppose we start working on this as a new branch. What we're going to do is we're going to get a new tree. We're going to get a second commit. We'll commit again, and this will point to the old commit. And we'll have a new head and master that points to this second commit. Now we can treat the first commit that we did as a separate branch by naming it, and here I just called it first, but then we've got 2 branches, and this is basically how we start to debug our project and keep track of the files. And we'll go more into that, but I just wanted to show you this kind of structure. Okay, so that's how Git works, and I'm sure you'll have more fun using it. Okay.